It's 28th webinar, but we'll be exploring some amazing sustainable building products with our mates McCormacks Australia. My name is Hamish White, one of the founding members of Sustainable Builders Alliance and director of Sanctum Homes, and I'll be your host for this evening. In the spirit of reconciliation, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend our respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. Picture this. You are Australia's largest F17 hardwood supplier, and the government calls an end to native forest logging. What do? Well, you call your mate Julia, that's what you do. Today, we're joined by Julia Hall and Glenn Lawrenson from McCormacks Australia, who saw the closing of our native forests as an opportunity and are now championing a range of beautiful, functional and sustainable building products. Julie is the CEO of McCormacks Australia and has spent her career working around timber and hardware. A self-professed hippie from the hills, Julia's passion for all things sustainable is seen through the new strategy for McCormacks Australia to not only ensure a sustainable business, but to champion a sustainable future for us all. Glenn is the technical manager at McCormacks Australia and forged the joint venture with Health Based Building in New Zealand, setting McCormacks Australia on a new path to help builders reach a new standard. Today's webinar is brought to you by one of our gold sponsors, Backman Builders. I know the Backman boys are here today watching, so g'day Darren and Dean, and thank you for your support as well. Backman Builders service Melbourne and the Macedon Ranges and specialise in quality new builds and extensions and renovations to one-of-a-kind, beautiful and most importantly, healthy homes. It's founded and run by brothers Dean and Darren. They have a family-first approach to building your dream home. The Backman brothers are passionate about homes that not only look incredible, but energy efficient and healthy to live in. Dean and Darren put an emphasis on relationship building, communication and organisation, and they absolutely love the C word. In fact, every time I talk to Darren, he drops it. Of course, I'm talking about collaboration. For more information on how you can learn more about Backman Builders, check out backmanbuilders.com.au. You can check out their Instagram page, Backman Builders on Instagram. You can send them an inquiry at inquiries@at backmanbuilders.com.au, and be sure to check out their YouTube channel, which is full of amazing content and some of the projects they've got underway at the moment. The information you're about to receive is based on the experience of the presenters and may not relate to your own situation. If you would like more specific advice, please get in touch via email. And I must apologise, I have had a migraine today, so I am a little bit cloudy if I do stumble across a few words. This smile is painted on at the moment. Today's webinar is going to be broken up into 3 parts. It's going to be broken up to about 3 10-minute sections, because we're going to be talking about 3 different products. We're actually going to stop presentation at each point, so everyone's going to have the ability to ask questions about those specific products. But please do pop them in the chat as we go, just so we can be efficient when we pause the presentation. All right, I'm going to throw it over to Julia and Glenn, and I'll jump back in about 10 or 15 minutes when we get through the first part. Over to you, Julia.
Perfect. Thanks, Hamish. And thank you, everybody that's here on the webinar. It's very exciting for us. As Hamish already mentioned, I'm the CEO at McCormacks Australia. As a bit of a background, we are a family business established in 2001, and as Hamish mentioned, we were working towards the end of native forestry in 2030. That decision was brought forward, so we are accelerating our sales plan to move towards our diversified products. Glenn, I will hand over to him in a few minutes. We're going to cover off Thermery first, because we've already covered a few things at the beginning, which is great. So Thermery is a range of cladding and lining boards that we introduced about 1.5 years ago. All of the products are thermally modified. There's no chemicals, and we'll explain how that all works in a minute. They are all mold and pest resistant, which of course is very important in Australia, and they're all sustainably sourced. This was something really important to us from the very beginning. So all of the products that we're bringing in are either FSC or PEFC certified, and the quality is absolutely magnificent, which is also why we chose them. So I'll hand over to Glenn to talk you through what thermal modification actually is.
Thanks, Julia. So when we thermally modify timber, it is a bit different to when we used to just basically kiln dry. It's heated up to a lot higher temperature, but we heat it up until there's actually no moisture left in the timber at all. So with that, then we have the cells collapse. It's held at that temperature for 2 to 3 hours, and then we slowly recondition it by adding steam and cooling it down. And that's adjusted the whole cell structure of the piece of timber. With that, then we get the advancement in its natural durability. It's pest resistant. There's no more sugars or anything left back into the timber itself. So it's just naturally, the termites don't like it. There's nothing in there for them to eat. It's better insulating property, and it's chemical free. So we have no hazardous waste. It's also dimensionally stable. It's not as reactive because of the cell structure is completely changed. So a normal piece of radiata pine goes up to a class 2 durability timber above ground from class 4.
And class 1 means what, Glenn?
So the class 1 is the length of time it is can be put out in the weather. So class 2 is 15 years to 25, and class 1 sort of 25 years plus.
Yeah. So we achieve all of that with no chemicals. So you can imagine in Australia, most of the timbers that we have, to get to that 25 plus years, we're actually treating them with H3 chemicals, an LOSP or something similar. Whereas with Thermery, we're able to achieve that just through heat and steam. So, if you're thinking about end of life for the timber that you're using on site, if timber is treated, we can't put it in the fire, so we can't use it for energy. We obviously don't want to put it in the ground, but unfortunately that's where it ends up, and all of those chemicals along with it. So it's a really good option from an end of life point of view as well. So the range that we have in Thermery, we do have decking, we've got cladding, we've got interior lining, and also sauna. And the sauna products also double up as a really great option for bathrooms. And I know most of you are probably thinking, oh my God, does that mean we're going back to the 80s and timber in bathrooms? It does, but they're more beautiful. We have some really gorgeous profiles that can be used. And having timber around us is obviously a positive thing in general. If any of you are watching the block at the moment, you might have noticed that in House 4, Stefan Gian installed a sauna. This was actually built by one of our customers, Drip Saunas. You'll see his little logo in there. Market Drip Saunas created this sauna using Ignite 5 on the outside, which is an alternative to Shushugi Barn. And on the inside, he's used Thermo Aspen in an STS4 profile, which is basically a small shiplap profile. And I'm sure you will agree how amazing it looks. The products themselves smell so great. And obviously in a sauna inside, we would normally use cedar. So this actually gives us a really nice alternative to cedar, and you still get that beautiful timber smell on the inside. Did you want to talk to this one, Glenn?
Yeah, this one is a Ross Moyne project. It was with a Californian bungalow style house at the front, and this beautiful facade at the back. So from the street, it doesn't look anything like this, but from the rear, he's framed it out with the once again the Ignite 5. He's a Elevate Buildings are a big fan of this product. They've used it on a number of different ones now. So we've got a couple more slides there. So he's added that one to the rear to frame this entranceway on this one.
backyard, yeah. So the Ignite 5 actually comes in a wider board, a 186 wide, and it also comes in a 140, a narrower board. Another project we wanted to show you was the carriage house done up in Kyneton by Shayna Blaze on a show called Country Home Rescue. With this one, Matt Menicelli from Elevate actually used a chevron pattern to, I guess, bring in that feel of the old home. It was an old, oh gosh, it was like a post office or something like that in Kyneton in the main street, and it just looks absolutely gorgeous in that chevron pattern. Lots of fun cutting, as you can imagine, but it turned out really well. They paired that together by putting it also inside and creating a hidden kitchen, because the garage actually doubled as a studio apartment. So you can see that they've got, again, the chevron pattern inside, and it looks great. Absolutely love that one.
Yeah, I think they loved it so much on the outside, they brought it to the inside. It was the line Matt said.
That's exactly right. We also do in the thermo spruce. So the main products that you have within Thermery for cladding is the thermo spruce and the thermo pine. With the thermo spruce, we're able to pre-coat it so that when it gets out to your job, it's already got 1 or 2 coats of paint on it, and you can do that final coat on site, saving you time, and obviously labour as well, in some cases scaffolding. So it gives you a really good option there, and of course it's nice and light. And the spruce, correct me if I'm wrong, Glenn, that's class 1?
Yes, that's right.
So that's 25 plus years, no rot. Big benefit. Moving inside, we have some really beautiful profiles. So you'll see on the right hand side there, it's actually an external cladding that we promote for interior called Smoked Brandy. It's in the Drift range. This is a 186 wide board. The overlap, there's actually no gap. So for inside, as a mum, I speak from experience, this is a good finish if you don't want to have a shiplap profile that you're having to dust all the time. Not very fun. And I love the texture that it brings into the room. On the left-hand side is SRP, which is a small round profile, and that has been painted just in a plain white. You can get that raw in a thermo aspen, and you actually don't even need to coat it. And again, you can put it in the bathroom. This is all individual pieces of timber. I love this project. This is actually thermo pine exterior, and you can see on the left-hand side how it's going to look as it greys off. But I just love seeing all of those knots. On the right-hand side is wave. So this is a triangle pattern that you can actually pair with Vire, a smaller triangle pattern if you want to, but it's just beautiful and light. Left-hand side is Vire. So that's a small triangle profile in a laundry of a bed and breakfast. And then on the right-hand side, you have Kite, which is our most popular interior finish. It's just been painted, and interestingly enough, that's actually shorts that have been end matched. So if you get under 2.1 meter lengths, we can actually have them end matched so that you can create a bit of a pattern. Probably a bit busy for my liking, but each to their own. This was a local Melbourne job that we did. Tate's Mitre 10, one of their reps, picked up this job where it was a tilt panel garage door. I think, Glenn, you might know a bit about this one.
Yeah, we've been quoting up a few jobs with this when replacement for cedar, because they don't have to upgrade any of the tracks or the motors to go industrial. They can get it through with the weight, because it is such a lightweight where they traditionally use cedar. They can use the thermally modified timber. So it's been a good help out for them. It's a big cost once you start upgrading tracks and motors on tilt doors.
Yeah. So you're looking at about 620 kilos per cubic metre, as opposed to, say, a spotted gum, Glenn's probably over 800, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, actually, the thermo's down to 420. So
there you
it's that light, so that's how we can use it there. So but yeah, spotted gum can be high 900s where they have to use the thin. That board there comes well under the weight, and that's still a 19 mil board. Does it quite well. That's just got a clear coat on that one, but I've seen a few in the Ignite as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we just did one in Queensland. It looks amazing.
Mm.
In the drift range again, so this is actually the Black Pearl, which we're about to put some of this up into Tacoma as well. But you can see you've just got that grayed off look from the very beginning. So it's quite striking. We're actually getting to the end, and I'm just wondering, Hamish, whether we should leave the installation video because of time.
How long does it go for?
It's like 2.5 minutes.
Look, I think it's not a bad idea. Now, just for the record, we tried to put this video on before, and Glenn could hear it and I couldn't. So we might play it and see how it goes. Maybe it's just my setting on my computer. So maybe give it a go. I think it's probably beneficial from what I saw. I think it'd be good for everyone watching.
Yeah, I'll try and move this out of the way. That's really annoying that you guys can see it now.
Mm.
So you'll see there that the boards, when you're screwing them in, you're screwing them on a 45-degree angle, which is quite unique. It's not something we often do in Australia, obviously, so hence why we wanted to show the video. And you'll also notice this corner piece here. So we actually sell these corner pieces. They're made in the thermally modified spruce as well, so that you won't get the movement, and you can just paint them black, obviously, on the edge. The other thing just to note is that obviously the gauge of the screws is quite low, so you're only using a 3 or 4 gauge. We've used up to 6 in pre-drilling, and we haven't had any issues with it splitting or cracking of the wood. So I know that's something that you guys grapple with every time you're doing cladding.
Yep. There's a few questions here I might get
Yeah,
through.
I just saw that.
So this is from Brian, one of the directors. Brian and Jeremy have fired a few questions at you. So, are you only considering large-scale commercial softwoods for this process?
Yes. So with the range that we've actually brought in from Estonia, because it's manufactured in Estonia, we've got to think about the timbers that are available there and readily available. So we very deliberately chosen to go with spruce, pine, and aspen. We're not doing ash. We do ash through another company as needed, but we don't actually have it, mainly because it's a lot of it's being logged in Russia, Belarus region. So, and we don't want to obviously get caught up with conflict timber. And it also means then that the supply ends up lumpy. And on top of that, products like alder and ash are very hard to get certification on, and we will only take certified timber. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. It probably leads into another question here from Jeremy asking if the timbers in the Thermia range are FSC accredited.
Yeah, so we get two types. Some of it will come through as FSC certified, and some will come through as PEFC certified. So they're both global certification models that are accepted in Australia, well, and globally, of course. Yeah. So that's on every single.
This is an interesting question from Brian too. What is the oldest project that it's been installed on? And I'm assuming he's asking us to see how it weathers. And what are the warranties on the product?
Yeah, so with the oldest project, I couldn't tell you because actually before we were importing the product, Herefords had been importing it years ago. I want to say 15 years ago. So probably the oldest projects are around that time frame. We've been doing this product for about 18 months. Australian Timbers in South Australia have also been doing the product for probably about 4.5 years. So there are some older projects out there. But yeah, I'd have to literally send you the details, look them up. Yeah.
No, I mean the product sounds there is some questions on here about weathering, so I'll get to them in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, the weathering is really interesting. You shoot, Hamish.
So again, there's another one from Brian. I always love Brian's question because he always sort of shoots from the hip. Bit of a prickly question, but given this is a thermally modified product, what is the energy consumption or carbon footprint like on the product given and assuming the energy used to manufacture it? And I'm also interested to see if you've calculated the carbon miles as well, given it is coming from overseas.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we do have an EPD for Thermery, and I can't tell you the numbers off the top of my head. I don't have that good of a memory, but I can tell you. So when we use heat and steam, you're actually using less energy because the steam from the actual timber is also used to recondition the timber. So it's actually going through at the same time, if that makes sense. They've got some videos and things from Thermery around that. But we have all of that information available.
Is that available on your website?
What you would think.
Is it available on the website, or is it something that you can share?
It is, yeah. It's actually on the Thermery website. But yeah, I can share that. That might be something that you might. Yeah.
We might even put some. I might actually see if Brian and someone can put some links in on one of our podcasts or something. I'm actually not sure how to do that on YouTube. That's probably a good way good time for me to find out. What is the BAL rating for Thermery products?
There's no BAL rating on Thermery products. Glenn, did you want to talk to this one?
Yeah, it's one we've been trying to. They do have tests over there. We're just getting them, trying to work out how they fit here. Because it's been thermally modified, I believe it can't carry over from the cell structure from what it was initially. So we have a radiator. We could go sort of the thermally modified radiator. We could look at that and say what the BAL rating is for that. But I have a issue with, once it's thermally modified, it has altered the cell. So, and it's based on density. So it is one that's at this stage, we don't run with a BAL rating on it.
So with any timber, you don't necessarily have a BAL rating. It's like fire testing and things. And Thermery have actually got a product called, oh gosh, it's gone out of my brain now. it's a fire retardant product that they can put that basically impregnates into the timber so that we could get a higher rating for fire. But at the moment, the products that we've brought in, we don't have any BEL rating on them. So I think in design, Glenn, you normally talk to the fact that up to BEL 19 from a design point of view, you can have the products in there, but above that, obviously you need to have FRLs and all of those types of things for cladding.
Yeah, well, cladding, you basically use radiata on the outside up, you know, if it's, what is it, 400 off the ground, those sort of things. So in design, they could use it in many places still.
Yeah, yeah.
Can it be left to grey off rather than have it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect for that. So actually, because of the fact that it's class 1 and 2 with the pine and the spruce, it actually doesn't mind greying off over time. And you'll I mean, the only problem with that, of course, as you guys know, never greys off at the same rate because of obviously where the sun's coming from, where your rain's hitting, all of that kind of thing, which is why I think these drift products will become more popular, because you have that grayed off look from the beginning. But yes, you can literally not coat them, just let them go grey.
And just following on from Jeremy's question, this is a kind of tack on Elizabeth Wheeler's question here. She's saying that it can, the website's saying it can be left to grey off, but it's not actually recommended for a Bodo, which is also a thermally modified product.
Yeah.
Do you know what the differences are between those two products? A Bodo, I'm pretty sure a Bodo is coming from New Zealand.
I was going to say a Bodo's coming out of New Zealand, and I don't really know a lot about it. I literally just saw it last week at a Provens. We had a Save Board breakfast. So that's the only reason I even know about that name. Yeah, so I don't know. We'd have to research to find out what the difference is, why you wouldn't let it grey off. Definitely the thermal modification processes are different, because I know that Thermery, so Thermery is the largest thermal modification company in the world. They're made up of 54 different companies. So over the last 23 years, they've purchased other companies and brought them within the fold. So and their thermal modification technology is their own. It's quite unique.
Might just get through a couple of questions, so I'm just conscious of time. So Anthony's just asked, does the black come off on your hands like when you're using other Shausugi Balm products? Haven't seen the product before. I know that's not the case, but
no, it's one of the biggest benefits, and I think it's also why Matt loves it so much from Elevate Building Group. So obviously with Shausugi Balm, the black quite often is coming off on you, on your tools, on areas of the job that you may not want it to. Ignite 5, the way it's manufactured, so you've got the thermo spruce timber, and then it's then embossed with a big metal roller, so that imprint, that dragon scale is imprinted, and then it's painted. So that's actually a water-based black paint, so it doesn't come off. They do recommend recoating around 5 to 7 years. And most customers that we've had using it have touched up with just like a Dulux Weather Shield matte black on any areas where they need to.
Awesome. All right. Well, I might kick on to the next product.
Sure. So just so you do know too, installation and different hints and tips on Thermery are all available on our website as well as on Thermery's website. So always nice, easy to access information. And if you need help with specifications, call or email Glenn. The next product we want to talk to you guys about is Save Board. This is my baby. Save Board was introduced, they actually started in Australia in November last year, and before that they had manufacturing in Hamilton in New Zealand, and then as I said in November we started up in Warragamba in New South Wales. It's really at the moment what we've got in Australia is wall sheets, which are either decorative or paper faced. We have ceiling tiles, and we have hoarding or temporary fencing. So we're keeping it pretty tight at the moment. everybody asks us, what is in it? And I actually did a SaveBoard tour today, so I took some extra photos for you all. So you can see on the left-hand side there, you've got SaveBoard offcuts. We're using Red Cycle, so we're helping Woolies and Coles with their little topic they've got. Container deposit scheme, so you can see the milk cartons, juice boxes, that kind of thing that's coming from container deposit schemes. For those of you that are in Victoria, container deposit schemes landed today. So if you look up CDS Victoria, you can find out where you can start to recycle your containers, including Tetra Paks. So before November last year, you could not recycle a Tetra Pak within this country. It was up until COVID getting exported to China. So this is actually a really important project, because otherwise all of that will go into landfill. Really cool thing on the end, that last picture is actually coffee pods. So it's just the coffee pods literally shredded up. So really cool that we can actually use those. I was a bit of a non-believer. I thought coffee pods actually all went into landfill. I've just got proven wrong today. Happy to be proven wrong too. We also get casino cards from Star City Casino. Would you believe that they shred, what is it, Glenn? Was it
2 ton a week?
No.
Casino cards.
So Star City Casino shred their cards every 24 hours so that they don't have card counting. And we now use them in SaveBoard. So that's saving them from landfill. Coffee cups as well. And of course, cardboards. And that is it. Pretty cool. Let's see if this will move along. I'll let Glenn talk to you about the manufacturing process.
So it's pretty, well, it looks pretty easy, the manufacturing process. So that's it when we feed it in on the left in that slide. And it's basically shred up and controlled in a hopper to what mixes in with it when we make the mattress on the right-hand side. So we couldn't just make it with all playing cards from the casino or all just one other product. It is a definite mix. We then make a big mattress on, as we've got in this side there. It is then moved along. There's a paper layer underneath it, and it has a clear, in this case, a clear plastic film over the top. It is heat pressed twice, and then which melts all the plastics in it, and that's what binds it together. So there is no glues or anything added to that, and it's melting the plastic. So that's why we can't use just cards or just cardboard. It wouldn't do that. So. And then it's the last press is a freeze. So it basically freezes or cools down the plastic so they firm up and harden up again, and it's trimmed to size. And that's the end of the line. It's cut, ready to go. With those, we can change. We'll see the colours in a minute, but the top film, you can just see on that left-hand slide, we can change the colour of that one, and which we then do our sorting, which we'll see some more photos in a minute of our exposed colours, which we sort the waste a bit more, and then as well as a black film or a white film in some cases.
So a really, really simple process, and all in one line. When I went there this morning, they were explaining that as it goes on to that first part of the conveyor belt, they're weighing the different types of waste going in to make sure that they're getting that ratio right, because it obviously depends on which product they're making as well. So the two main products that we're selling in Australia at the moment are actually wall lining and ceiling tiles. I mean, the cool thing about the wall lining is that for every single board that you put up on a wall, you are literally rescuing 20 kilos minimum of waste from going into landfill. It performs 15% better than plasterboard, so you've got a nice benefit there. It is a rigid board. One of the things we like to do down at SaveBoard is we have lined up like a little mini stud wall, I guess you would call it, framed up of plasterboard, one of fibre cement and one of SaveBoard. And we've managed to pelt cricket balls straight through the plaster, straight through the fibre cement, and it hasn't even dented the SaveBoard. So it's pretty compelling if you think about SDA homes or homes where, well, I mean, any of us that have got children probably go, oh, I need that in my house. So with the ceiling tiles, we've got a material group 3. So our understanding is that for commercial buildings, essentially you can use it anywhere that's not an egress area, so an entrance, an exit way, an escape area. And we've got obviously the minus 0.11 kilos of CO2 embodied carbon in every in every metre squared. I'm going to just flick to the next one. It's really important that we talk about the fact that it's not perfect. We do a lot of these presentations to architects, and what we find is that the architect gets it and they're all excited. The client gets all excited. And then when the plasterer gets to site, he goes, what the heck is this stuff? So it's really important that the whole way through the chain, we explain what you're going to experience. So number one, it's really rigid. It's not like plasterboard. It's not going to break on site. It's going to be really heavy. It's about between 22 and 24 kilos per sheet. So a lot heavier than plasterboard. And you might get the odd air bubble, wrinkle, a little bit of texture. In the coloured products, you're going to get a bit of colour variation because, let's face it, waste is not perfect, and so the product's not either. We honestly believe that with this product, it's about inspiring the story. So we really encourage you guys to use those coloured products so that your customer and everybody around knows what they're looking at. You want to see the rubbish in it so that you can celebrate the fact that we're actually doing something about it instead of putting it into landfill. Did you want to go through this one, Glenn?
Yeah, so the 3 products here, we have the paper face, which is paper both sides with a recessed edge, a good alternative to plasterboard for that one. Our exposed linings, which is the different colours, which we'll have, I'll see some more slips of some photos on those ones in a minute, and then the multi-use, which is for external hoarding. So that particular product it's a bit thicker. We do that to 12 mil. That weighs a bit more as well. We have 30% plastics in that one. So it just lasts a bit longer, but it is a bit denser and a bit heavier for that, for the hoardings. It's that one would be closer to the 27 kilos per sheet in that one.
Yeah, definitely. And with the paper faced, we have actually introduced a square edge as well. So you've either got the option of stopping it up with jointing compound like you normally would with the rebated edge, or you can use an express joint and just cork on the edges. These are pretty funky. So our big picture plan for SaveBoard, because you can imagine with a startup, it's a bit of a journey to get there. Oops, and my slides are going to start skipping. But this is what a SaveBoard bin would look like on site. So our hope long term is that these would be at every Bunnings and Mitre 10 basically at your local hardware store, so that every time you're using it on site, you can just drop off your waste when you're going to pick up your next load of SaveBoard and timber and everything else. So big picture plan at this stage. All SaveBoard can obviously be recycled back through the plant, so that's a big positive. This is actually on the ceiling. You can see the ceiling tiles have been used, and on the walls, you've got paper faced, which I'm sure if I didn't tell you that, you wouldn't realise it. It actually looks really cool at the Woolies head office in their lunchroom. Using exposed blue in a garage, and you can imagine in a garage, this is fantastic because of that rigidity. You're not going to be having to worry about getting knocks and bumps. Cafe in Melbourne, and having a bit of fun with a logo going in. This is actually some offices in Australia where they were playing around with it, and we ended up picking up KFC out of some of this work. So KFC actually have exposed being used in their bathrooms. I do not know why that's skipping over. Technology, huh? It's the day for it. Just going to move that out of the way. Glenn, did you want to talk to the Elizabeth Murdoch College job?
Yeah, so this was a job where in Victoria here, there, a lot of schools were into open classrooms, and they sort of the last school break, they've sort of changed their mind a bit, and they were sort of closing them off and making more rooms. And this particular school, their maintenance guy got onto our save board and thought it would be a great product to use because, one, for the high impact for the kids and saving patching up the plasterboard. And what he did with this, he used the paper face, and as you can see here, he stopped it all up. But we talk about not perfect. We did have one sheet in that wasn't, and it actually didn't have the paper on it. And he'd actually framed it out in the end and showed, so you could actually see that it was made from recycled, and that was part of the story in the classroom. So they painted the whole lot of the room except for this one sort of square, and basically it's a lesson for them on their walls.
That's perfect. So with paper-based, with paper-based, it's a really easy option. Now, it is more expensive. So if we talk about plasterboard being, say, $30 a sheet, save board, you're probably looking at A-grade paper-faced around $90 a sheet. So it is a lot more expensive. That's now. At the end of the day, we all know that to get the cost of products down, it's about volume. So as we get the product becoming mainstream, I know that price will come down and it'll make it a lot easier. But to give you an idea of the impact of changing, so every new house is obviously around 800 square metres of plasterboard. So that's the equivalent of upcycling 8,000 kilograms of think juice boxes, Tetra Paks, and Red Cycle. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty compelling. It's obviously going to be better performance for your acoustics and also for that rigid side of things, but you're also doing something really good for the planet. This is the finished job. Again,
and the other reason they went with that was the maintenance. They replace or patch up a lot of walls previously from plaster, and that's one of the reasons they went with this. They weren't going to have to.
Yeah. It came up really well. Some of the people that we're partnering with, so APCO is obviously in Australia. They're the Australian Packaging Covenant. Coffee Club, Fonterra is actually a New Zealand company, and we get a lot of our waste from them. KFC are using exposed black. 7-Eleven we actually get waste from. We're working on that one. And Bunnings, as you guys would know, as well as Mitre 10 now and Bowen's now have Save Board available through their online special orders. So we are getting some support out there, but of course it's really up to you guys now to have a think about where can I possibly use this product and how can I use it? How can I incorporate it? The last thing we just want to talk about on Save Board is just Closed Loop. Closed Loop are actually our partner in this project. They provide circular economy solutions. So have a think about, so when you go to 7-Eleven, if you ever look at the Simply Cups where you can put your cup and your lid, that's actually a program that Closed Loop run. And those coffee cups get taken off site, they get pelletized, and then they go into pack pave and asphalt. So they're actually all recycled. Which is fantastic because, again, it's about taking waste out of the world. I mean, it would be great if we didn't produce any more, but you got to start somewhere, don't you? So I think, Hamish, did you want to stop there? I noticed there's a few questions popping up again.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna jump in and be really selfish because the passive house brain in me just wants to know what the vapor permeability of this stuff is.
It's not vapor permeable. Obviously, it's got plastic in it. So, and it being a composite. So, yeah, you can imagine the shreds when we're creating that mattress. It's a mixture of cardboard and plastics all mixed in together. So, yes, not vapor permeable, but very good.
So amazing for internal partition walls and stuff like that. So no, you know what? It's an incredible product. The more I look into it, I think we should all be using stuff like this. I'll throw a couple of questions at you. This is from Joe. Can we take our recyclable products straight to Warragamba Now, Warragam is where the manufacturing
Yep.
is, isn't it? Yep.
It is, yeah. So can you take... You actually can, but they will charge you a gate fee for normal recycling. There's no charge on SaveBoard going back to the plant, but for waste, they will review it and then there will be a gate fee. So just a heads up on that. You're better off to take your waste down to a container deposit scheme. Soft plastics we can definitely take, but again, it's just that gate fee.
Maybe we should champion some kind of site-based management process, Julia.
I think that's a great idea, Hamish, honestly.
All right. SBA and McCormacks in closed loop. Come at me. Let's do it. Is it from Elizabeth? So does it feel like plastic to touch? I'm assuming that is the case.
It does feel like plastic, and so the funny thing is too, which I haven't mentioned, is that all of you guys are probably thinking what I thought when I first saw the product, that it's going to be high VOCs because it's plastic. But funnily enough, SaveBoard, so the exposed board and the paper face are 0 VOC. They're 0.0004 parts per billion, which is considered 0 VOC. So the plastic in it's actually done its getting off already. So yes, it feels like plastic. Yes, it looks a little bit like plastic. But you don't get that plastic smell, which is a big tick.
Well, that's just ticked off probably half a dozen questions in the chat, so that's awesome. So Ian's asked, do you have a weight per square metre on the paper face? And that kind of leads to another question from here. So can it be used on ceilings?
Yeah, so yes, it can be used on ceilings. We do a slightly different formula for ceilings because we can't go over, I think it's 5 kilos per ceiling tile, which that's a 595 by 1195. So we do extra QC around ceiling tiles to make sure that we're meeting that number. What was the other part of that question, Hamish?
Yeah, so basically what the weight is. So what's the weight, and then can it be used on ceiling? Yeah, weight per square metre.
Yeah, so the weight is, I mean, on multi-use is about 1 kilo per square metre, but it's less than that. Glenn, do you know what the one, because I know it's 2.4 by 1.2, and I think they're between 22 and 24 kilos.
Yeah, so I just had to work that out. Yeah, so it's 24 kilos max for the 2400 by 1200 and the 10 mil. So just had to do on that.
Awesome. I'm just going to maybe skip a couple of these questions because they have kind of been answered. There is a question from someone asking, you know, is there any change in stud spacings that we need to think about, or is it 450 and 600 okay just for our fixings?
Yeah, so it's still 450 centres, the same.
450 centres. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And just
the biggest change, just to finish that question, so the biggest change is that obviously with plasterboard, you're always butting it up together and you're doing your taping and your jointing compound, so your base and your top coat. With SaveBoard, the best way to put it in, especially with the coloured products, is to leave that 4 mil express joint and to cork it. There's 2 reasons for that, and it's better that we talk about it now. One is the tolerance of the product. So a 10 mil product can be anything from 9 mil to 11 mil because of the tolerance. And so from a customer experience, we want to make sure the customer looks at it and goes, wow, I love that. We don't want them to look at it and go, oh, I can see a lip there. That, you know, there's a bit of a difference. So having that 4 mil gap and a cork is a game changer.
I think aesthetically it looks awesome as well. Look, I'll just one more question, then we'll try and throw to the mag board. So Sue's just asked, can the non-paper face be painted? And if it is painted, would it need priming?
So yes, exposed lining can be painted. You need to use a coating that will stick to plastic. They don't typically use primers. I feel like White Knight have a range of plastic paints from memory, just from walking down the Bunnings aisles. And usually it's a spray paint. you're probably not going to paint it because it's about $175 a sheet. So you just use the paper face if you're going to paint, but yes, it is paintable.
Yeah, and celebrate the trash, I reckon.
I think so too. Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can get 10 minutes on, or 10 or 15 minutes on Magboard, so we can sort of close the loop on all the products that we're going to talk about today. So I'll throw it back over to you guys now.
Sure. All right, go for it, Glenn.
All right, so Magnum Board products, we've been bringing in part of our diversification for about 4 or 5 years. It is an alternative building material for bushfire areas and those wanting to make a sustainable choice. We make it, we bring it in as basically 3 ranges: the weatherboards, a flooring underlay, and our easy line or flat sheets for interior, exterior. All the products are basically made the same. We don't differentiate between internal or external. Actually, this video, you're going to play this video is a bit of an introduction in where Magnum Board and what it's all about, and a bit more about what I'll talk about in a minute about health-based building.
Yeah, and so Forever Breathe, just as a heads up, as a specification, Forever Breathe will be available as a complete system from March next year.
The building industry does massive downstream damage to the state of our environment, and up until now, there has been very little we could do if we wanted to build new with the convenience of a large design and build company. Considering we, human beings, spend up to 90% of our lives enclosed in buildings, and the walls, floor, doors, etc. tend to be synthetic, chemically processed or treated, wouldn't you want more? This thinking led us to create health-based building. What's that? Let's look around, and I'll tell you all about the future of construction and living a better life indoors. This home has been built to Forever Breathe specification standard at the same cost as a typical new house build. That's because our team has spent hundreds, actually thousands of hours identifying the best building materials to use when building a healthy home. At Health-Based Building, we think of ourselves as champions of healthy and sustainable life spaces. Working in consultation with you, your architect and your building team, we help you to create a healthy living environment that gets the most out of available natural resources and creates a viable, sustainable ecosystem. We will show you about breathable construction, keeping in heat while establishing excellent indoor air quality. You see, the best thing about our work is that you can have an energy-efficient home as well as a healthy one. Everything down to the paint has been carefully selected and developed to ensure a healthier way of living from day one. Health-Based Building will partner with you to ensure you get maximum use out of your space and show you the healthiest way to build without hours of search time. Because we've done it all for you. We will also introduce you to tools such as indoor air quality monitors, which measure air quality, empowering you to take action to improve the air quality. Whether you're building, renovating, or simply changing around a few things, Health-Based Building is here to provide you with the information and products that make your space a healthy place.
All right, so that was a bit about health-based building there. We're in a joint venture with them with our Magnum Board products. They've come together. They were traditionally a sawmilling company, which was Hardy and Thompson, and they rebranded to health-based building. All of their products that they have and produced through their business, basically, all low VOC or no VOCs. They've been very big on no silica, which all Magnum Board products have no silica. It's all about less plastic and less waste on site. That all come together with the issue you might have seen in New Zealand with leaky home syndrome, basically houses rotting from the inside. So Magnum Board with our Forever Breathe system treats that issue. Quickly go through this because it is quite in depth. But with our Forever Breathe system, we use it's all about being vapor permeable. So we use a vapor permeable paint. We use our Magnum board for the interior and ceiling linings. We use a sheep's wool insulation. We use just a normal stud wall, and then on the outside it's Magnum board again in the 9mm, and that's our rigid air barrier. That's all taped up, and then we can either use the timber batten or leave the cavity. So timber batten, and then you use your weatherboards, or leave the cavity and brick up. It's all about moisture getting out of that house.
You're literally creating a breathable home. Hamish has lots of questions for you, Glenn. So we'll quickly run through just the product range. So these products are all available in Australia now. So we have, the first product is the weatherboards. They are suitable for bushfire areas. They are non-combustible with 0 flame spread, so they can be designed in up to BAL 29, Glenn.
Yeah.
And then the flat sheets, obviously, you would use for your BAL FZ. They're all mold and insect proof. The weatherboards are a 180 height, 150 cover, and they're 3/6 long, all end match. So they're really easy for installation. They are a rigid board. So the difference between these versus something that's maybe fibre cement, fibre cement, they can be quite wobbly. With Magnum board, they're nice and rigid, so they're quite easy to install. And we have a great little trick called a Cladmate Pro, and every time you buy a pack of Magnum board weatherboards, we throw one of those in for free so that it becomes a one-person job. Happy days. Actually, I probably should just add on the weatherboards. You can install them using a coil nailer, so very, very fast for installation. The Magnum board flooring underlay, this is where we're probably selling the most, I think, around the country, Glenn.
Yeah, our biggest one at the moment.
It's just, this is a no-brainer. So it's 2700 by 600 in an 18mm thick. It's got the tongue-in groove. The biggest difference between this and other products on the market, it's interior, exterior. You do not void your warranty if you have it sitting on site for a couple of weeks. It won't bother it. It's vapor permeable. It doesn't mind getting wet. Big tick in our weather lately. So that's that guy, and that is available through, well, that's pretty much available everywhere now.
The big one with that one, so we'll just go back, is the weight. Our sheets are about 32 kilos a sheet, where some of the other ones in the market are about 44 kilos a sheet. So massive difference.
Yeah. And the last one is your Easy Line. So Easy Line are your wall sheets, and these are all interior, exterior. They're high impact resistance. We are on the SDA list. So if you're doing a high dependency home where they're going to be having wheelchairs or any kind of that kind of equipment, we are on the list already, and you don't need to go to, I think is it called high density plaster, something like that. You don't actually need to go to that point. You can use 9mm Magnum board. You've got 2 4s, 2 7s, 3 O's, all by 1.2. In the 9mm board, we have a rebated edge, and then in the 12 and the 18mm thick, it's just a square edge. So we quite often find that people end up rendering those for outside, but they're all interior, exterior. So really cool product to use in your wet areas because it is mold resistant. You still need to obviously do your waterproofing, but in wet areas you can go, so normally obviously with fibre cement sheet you're doing 450 centres. With 9mm Magnum board you can actually go to 600, so you can use less timber on your job as well. That is it. Questions?
Awesome, thank you. Now, I have a question, Julia, and I've already asked you this the other day. Now, I'm obviously a passive house builder, and all our homes are airtight, and we put heat recovery ventilation systems in our homes. But you were telling me that that we don't need a heat recovery ventilation system or additional ventilation system in these homes. Can you talk to that a little bit more?
Sure. So with Forever Breathe, what we're creating is basically a breathable home. So everything can move in and out of that wall. Every single layer there is vapor permeable. And so inherently, you don't need that extra HVAC or any of those mechanical ventilations because of that method. Glenn, did you want to talk to any of the technical terms, the exothermic blah, 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 any of that? I don't really know about.
They're all big. Each step and each product we've used or they've used in this is a key. So the Magnum board was one of the last ones to use that. And the big key with Magnum board is it doesn't degrade with vapor permeable, with being vapor permeable. So we can leave it in water and that now, and it will not degrade. So that's obviously a key. But the other big one is the sheep's wool insulation. So normal insulation, once you start adding moisture and those sort of things, one, it holds it, but it also drops the R values, where real sheep's wool doesn't.
What Hamish is particularly interested in, though, is why we don't need to have HVAC with the Forever Breathe specification, because obviously with Forever Breathe, we're getting 2.4 to 2.6 air exchanges per hour, where Passive House is down around 0.6. And of course, at 0.6, we know you need mechanical ventilation. So why don't we need that with Forever Breathe?
Well, one, because we are over that number. But it's also with the other thing we monitor. We have air monitors in these houses as well. I don't know, Hamish, if you've seen the Yoo-hoo meters that we have. I've got an app that we can actually look at this particular house as we speak, and it monitors the CO2 buildups and the VOC buildups. It's checking out the humidity in the house as well. So we've got the live data to show we're not endangering anyone with the CO2 buildups or VOCs. And they're pretty high-tech thing. If you bring a plastic chair into a room, it's pretty sensitive. It'd pick it up with the off-gassing from a chair. So I think all the houses over there, they've pretty much got the Yoo-hoo meters in them to measure that.
So I'll probably just chime in and just say, I would argue that anything below 5 air changes now, I guess in a normal construction you'd probably want to start seriously looking at additional ventilation, whether that's decentralized or a centralized system. Look, I'd love to look into it more. Obviously it's sort of a bit jarring in my passive house brain, but obviously you've got, we've got a case study here and it's obviously working. Brian has got a question here that I'm also very keen to know. And have you done any hygrothermal modelling on these wall assemblies? So Wolfie analysis on this wall assembly?
I think we find in New Zealand they would have, but yeah. So we system here, that particular house is in New Zealand. They are well down the track in this process with the Forever Breathe homes. It's not something new as it is to us. I haven't kept up with. There's a lot of tests they're constantly getting. If you name the test, I'll check with Robin and I can come back to you certainly on that and post the links.
Oh, look, I'm not trying for a second to poo-poo the product, because I think I guess conceptually it sounds amazing. I guess we're here to kind of challenge it and get us to understand it, because obviously we're going to be putting it into our homes where we want to know these answers. Look,
exactly.
I might try and wind it up here, because I've just got a little bit to get through at the end of it. So what I might try and do is put some of the links when I do load it up onto YouTube. I might just put some links to some of these products in the description. We will put this it'll sit on the sba.com.au, so on our new website, so it's really easily accessible. But thank you both for coming in and talking about McCormack's sustainable future, I guess. And it's really amazing to see, the pivot you guys have done from, I guess, being one of Australia's biggest F17 hardwood timber suppliers to, I guess, really turning it on its head and becoming a real champion for sustainable products. I think it definitely is the way that the industry has to go.
Thanks, Hamish, and thanks for having us.
No worries at all. And look, thanks for everyone for joining us tonight. I know we've gone a little bit over time. A huge thank you to our gold sponsors, the Backman Builders, Dan and Darren. Thanks for your support. If you haven't already listened to episode 22 of our podcast, The Sustainable Builders Yak, definitely check it out. Simon and Brian, they catch up with Dylan Viviers. He's a National Specifications Manager at Wholesome, and he's talking about all things low carbon concrete. Now, we've actually done a webinar on low carbon concrete from Wholesome on their EcoPack range. So check that out again at www.thesba.com.au. Next webinar, we're hoping to lock in Jenny Edwards. Unfortunately, she couldn't do it this month. And thankfully, Julia and Glenn jumped in. Hopefully, we'll get Jenny on probably later this month. We're in November now. I'd also just like to quickly remind everyone, we do have an open house event next Friday, the 10th, at actually Sanctum Homes Passive House project. It's going to be an amazing project to show everyone. I'm really excited about it. We've got some really great special guests coming along to talk about the particular products that go into building a passive house. I think there's only a handful of spots left, the 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. So jump onto our Instagram page to book your spot. Lastly, I'm just going to remind everyone there's still an opportunity to support Sustainable Builders Alliance by being a gold and silver sponsor. All that information is sitting on our website. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I do encourage you to all check out www.thesba.com.au. We put so much effort into getting that information hub up there, and we'd really love for everybody to go and check it out and use all the resources that are on there. Check out the webinars and the podcasts. Until next time, thanks everybody, and I will get this up on YouTube over the next few days, and it will be shared to the SBA.com. Julia and Glenn, thank you for joining us today, and also thank you for your support as well. It's very, very much appreciated, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks, Hamish.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.